We still love you. All right, I'm sure this is going to get packed any second now, so we're going to go ahead and start. I was laughing a little bit ago because this morning I looked at the lineup and saw that GeckoTek, little GeckoTek, was following basically the father of 3D printing. So around these parts, that's like following Cal Ripken, trying to find a spot in the newspaper. So we're gonna move through this pretty quickly, and we do appreciate you coming. And the simple kind of question we want to pose is, who could imagine a 3D printer in every household? So, and that's a challenge. I really, understandably, the place was packed. And joking aside, it's a great job by her. I'm serious. You know I'm serious. To get a guy like that to speak to this group and to be able to kind of help take through how it got here. That's an important message for anyone in the 3D printing world. So I want to start by asking you all a question, but don't answer yet. And the question's this, because he was talking about how you build industry and how 3D printers and beyond can build that. Ours is a little more personal. So what we want to talk about is, how do we get a 3D printer in every household? And that's a challenge. So I want to ask you a question. I want you to think about the answer. We'll come back to it. And the question is this: what's the biggest change that you've seen in cell phones in the last 5 years? Don't answer that. Just think about it. I'll ask you in a little bit. So we're GeckoTek. We have one simple mission. We want to make 3D printing easier. That's all we want to do. We think we've got a really cool build surface. There's lots of good build surface companies out there. We have competitors. One of the things I love about this industry is no one's cruddy to each other. I can stand up here and say the word BuildTech, and that's great. They're kind of the leaders of build surface in this industry. We think we've got a pretty good product too. And what we're all trying to do is we're all trying to make 3D printing easier, more accessible for everyone. I don't care if you're doing a build surface, hot end, making 3D printers, everyone from Prusa, very large company, on down to us. I think everyone has the same mission. So we sell all over the world, feel really good about what our product does, but that's not why we're speaking today. Next slide. While 3D printing is alive and well, as shown in today's event, there's a problem with 3D printing, particularly in the personal use world. And this has been going on for a long time. Back in 1991, it was penned as the technology acceptance gap. And so this is basically the people that are here, the innovators. You just heard from the innovator. So the innovators and the early adopters, that's who's in this room. They're the tinkers, the makers, the engineers, the kids that are 50 times smarter than my kid. I'm going to apologize to my son if he sees this video. That's true. Those are the people that have made this industry get this far. And I think probably those people have done a lot on the commercial side more appropriately and understandably than the personal side. Again, we're going to talk about the personal growth of 3D printers today. So that chasm, that gap, is an extremely tough thing for an industry and, more importantly, a technology to get past. So there's other ways to look at it. And this is the more, kind of perhaps humorous. I think it's kind of funny, but this is the humorous view of new product adoption. I love the one that says, one of the ways to cross the gap is if Ashton Kutcher would get one. I can tell you that if he got one, I wouldn't care. I don't really, I don't follow him. He doesn't really affect my life too much. But I do like that, it talks about, it's basically talking about, that's kind of a pop culture impact. So how's it get popular? What happens there? And then the next step is, oh yeah, Walmart has it. Sam's Club has it. Costco has it. By the way, we want to get out of the business before we have to start selling to Costco. It's unlimited returns and no margins just seem bad. So, next slide. By the way, I was laughing so much, Jarrett and I were laughing so much about following Mr. Boyer, that I forgot to even introduce ourselves. My name's Tom Murray. I'm part of GeckoTek, one of the partners of GeckoTek. This is Jarrett Shedd. Jarrett does all of our digital marketing and communication. The founder of GeckoTek couldn't be here, Brad Ruff. Brad's really the visionary who decided that he wanted to come up with his particular niche in the industry that made 3D printing a little bit easier in our little spot. So I'm looking around the audience, and I'm gonna pick out some people who might actually remember these. Up top, the first cell phone call was made on that, somewhat large cell phone only 46 years ago. That kind of stuff's amazing to me. That's not that long ago. That's a dot matrix printer. I guarantee you none of those are around. You might have one. I have one in the garage. And I love the bottom right that Apple made that machine. And if anyone around, under 30 would look at that, I mean, Jarrett's not under 30, but he's close. He's looking at that, and he's probably challenging me saying, yeah, no, they didn't. They would not sign up for that. Maybe I think Steve Jobs was on vacation. Actually, he had a lot to do with that. So that's old technology. Next slide. So it's obviously come a long way. That's actually that same guy. I was at a recent acknowledgement for him. He is the individual, I forget his name, he's credited with making the first cell phone call in 1973. Tablets, printers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, the wireless nature of all. Personal tech has come a long way. And 3D printing has too. What you see up there in the center that's an old SLA printer. So they're a lot less complicated today than back in the day. There's a couple of examples. We mentioned, Prusa before. They are front and center, and so some nice products up on the screen. And again, user-friendly, much better than they used to be. But again, I think there's still work if you're really going to penetrate the personal side of 3D printing. So from then to now, and this was when we started putting this together and we started doing some research. This was really eye-opening. So cell phones were created in 1973. And if I get my stats slightly wrong, challenge me after, but they're pretty close. So it was created, the first cell phone call was made in 1973. Today, there are 5 billion units worldwide. Everybody knows there's about 8 billion people in the world. 2/3 of every human, not 2/3 of every human, 2/3 of all humans. It's a totally different meaning, 2/3 of every human. 2/3 of all humans have a cell phone. Again, this is personal. That doesn't count the people that have their personal and their work phone. Personal computers, basically created 2 years later. This year, a couple billion units worldwide. A little over 1/4 of the world's population has a personal computer, not the one they use at work. So I looked at 3D printers. It's created only 10 years later. To date, and this is really hard, this is a really hard data point to get. I looked at a few places. I'm relatively confident in this. I tend to think it might be a little bit higher, but it's not 10 million. There are according to a couple of sources, there's 1 to 2 million units worldwide, again estimated, that are being used regularly by people for personal reasons. So that's 10, 100,000, 2 1,000ths of the world population. So there's a problem. And it's a problem that, the technology gap says it was a problem for all these companies. The question is, why are we behind? So I like to think of it as, and by the way, the good news is, this is our last slide, but there's some talking points here. There's bad news and there's good news. Here's the bad news. I'm your target audience. So I'm a pretty good construction guy, remodel a lot of stuff. When it comes to technical items like this, I'm not really it. Jarrett, a lot younger than I am, a lot more advanced than that. He loves it. Can't wait. He uses a Dagger. Can't wait to tinker with it. Dagger actually does a nice job kind of making it pretty easy. But I'm what you call the Santa Claus factor. So many of you may have met and know Santa Claus. Santa Claus on Christmas morning knows that the gifts that he drops off, that lots of times the parents that may be in the household They don't want to put together complicated things. They want to relax on Christmas morning. Back in the day, you know, for me it was an erector set. For my son it was Legos. I didn't buy the Legos that had the little motor and puller. I just bought the regular ones because he could handle that on his own. I didn't have to get involved. I was willing to, and you know, I love my son, but I have my limits, especially Christmas morning. So the you know, joking aside, the important piece there is that 3D printing's got to get to a point that for personal use and growth, you really have to make a lot of progress in two particular areas. One of them is the entertaining or, you know, just kind of recreational category, and the other one is more utilitarian, but we'll get to that in a minute. So coming back to the question I asked at the beginning, what's the biggest change you've seen in cell phones in the last 5 years? Who's got that answer? What's the biggest change? Anybody? Touch screen's one of them. That's it. What's another one? What are most of the ads? What's Apple's latest ad focused on? The camera. And is Apple doing that because Apple thought we want to crush the camera business once and for all, which, by the way, they already have. So anything else they do is just mean. So did they do that to crush the camera business? No. They did that because people a lot younger than me are on Instagram and Facebook. They're posting things all the time. The need to have a device that both takes a picture and can communicate that picture out, that's the pull-through. So Apple's selling a $1,000 phone, $1,100 phone now, and you look at their ad, the only thing that's changed is the camera. They probably said they've changed some other things, whatever. They added 2 more lenses, they call it Super Deluxe. Samsung's doing the same thing. Look at the crispness of the video, of the photos. But they're doing that to satisfy something that exists in the market already, which is the use of Instagram, the use of Snapchat, the use of Facebook, etc. So what 3D printing needs is that pull-through. And I'll describe that this way. In fact, one of the tipping points I'll mention is we work with Xavier University. We're from Cincinnati. And their Center for Innovation have about 30 printers. And Gary Lewandowski, he's a great guy, ran it. Gary's a couple years younger than me. And Gary was talking about, a couple years ago, it was always packed. Students coming in, checking it out, checking it out, checking it out. Well, now, it still has, you know, pretty good activity, but it's not like it was. And he said that's because the novelty's worn off, and now the tinkerers and the makers and the engineers come by and the designers come by and do stuff, but the casual users don't as much. Because Thingiverse kind of runs its course, you print a few things and that's kind of fun, and then off you go. The other thing that Gary told me that I really liked is he said, he likened it to the computer revolution, where it got started and they hit that gap that I showed you before, and then they kind of started to slow down. And this is a great quote, I told Gary he's going to use it because I think it is. I think Gary said, and then serious people started asking serious questions. And I love that quote, because what that means is people like y'all, wherever you're plugged in the 3D printing business, and a lot of folks, I'm not making a joke, a lot of folks who were sitting here before are the leaders of this industry. Not that you guys aren't, I don't know what you do, but when you're looking at 300 people sitting here, the leaders of this industry are sitting here. Once again, it's nice, it's a great job by y'all getting those folks here. So those are the folks, you guys are the folks that are going to do that. And I'll give you an example. And this is the kind of stuff that I'm not smart enough to do. We're focused on GeckoTech. We want to make 3D printing easier. We want people to build better and create more. We want, believe it or not, we want BuildTech to be successful. We want Prusa to be successful. We want everyone in 3D printing to be successful. But to do that, we got to start pulling people into it who aren't normally into it. So I gave you the example of the personal side, and again, a real world example of that is 15 years ago to set up a printer, just a printer at your house, is a pain in the butt. To do it today, basically what my computer tells me is, Tom, don't touch anything. If you touch something, it's going to get messed up. If you leave the computer and the printer alone, they seem to have a fabulous relationship. It's going to be fine. It'll all go okay. That's what 3D printers have to get to on the recreation side. The filament doesn't get jammed up in the hot end. I get a computer screen that I can easily find anything that I want to print, and I just hit print. You know, I've got issues with which filament, PLA is probably going to dominate. There's issues to be worked out. But that's something that has to happen. And I think a lot of times there's a race to the bottom on price so that every person can afford a $200 printer, but there shouldn't be. They should have a race to the top on features and functionality and let people who use one start to validate it. And as more and more people are willing to spend $1,000, suddenly that technology will get cheaper and it can become part of a $200 and $300 machine. I think that's one of the missing pieces. On the utilitarian side, in other words, the commercial side, I was actually with some guys just a couple of weeks ago, and I love this example. Guy owns an auto shop. He's got a wiring harness. It's got 12 pieces in the harness. He has to go to Honda, because he was working on Honda. He has to specifically go to Honda and get this harness. But he doesn't need all 12 pieces. He needs part number 3 and part number 9. Well, actually, one of the parts he talked about was he needs a plastic bracket. And Chad said, wouldn't it be cool? I love when sentences start like that. He said, wouldn't it be cool if someone kind of aggregated all the designs from the major car manufacturers, truck manufacturers, and boating manufacturers? And there's a business there. Again, there's smart people sitting out here right now. If someone writes this down, you owe me if it's worth, you owe me dinner a few years from now at this show. But the business idea is that if someone could aggregate those designs, so if someone creates a business, calls on Ford, Honda, Sea-Ray, Peterbilt, all those companies, and they say, well, here's what I want, very simple. I want access to your design on part number 3 of the 12-part harness assembly. I just want part number 3. And oh, by the way, aggregator person, the aggregator charges, they'll pay the manufacturer 50 cents a design to one-time download it, and then I'll turn around, Jarrett's looking for it, and I'll sell it to Jarrett for 50 cents. So for $1, I get him to design for part number 3. Forget about the metrics, forget about the dollars for a minute. The concept is aggregation of all those designs easily accessible to Jarrett or to my buddy Chad, who runs a car shop, who doesn't want to buy a $17 or $29 harness assembly. He just wants 29-cent plastic part, and it won't even cost him that much if he prints it. I love the idea. So our challenge to you today is to think about that. Who's going to do that? It's not me. I got too many of these. We're doing this, we're having a good time doing it, but somebody out there is going to do that. Someone out there is going to figure out a way to bring that so that every auto shop, trucks, cars, every boat repair shop, they have a couple 3D printers, and that's what they do. And then, by the way, if it's a knob on a boat, you want it in a special color, no problem. I'll change out the filament. I don't check and see if China or whoever made another 50,000 of those knobs in a different color. I mean, today's world's custom, you know that. My kids don't want anything standard. They want to do something cool and something fun. So, really, we don't have a lot to tell you in terms of what we think we can do to help. We're just really here to ask those questions. And the main question is, and the good news is, the solution's here. Solutions, and these bleachers, the solution's out on that floor. What are you guys going to do that's different than just think of the next feature? What are you going to do to really grow the market? That will help us sell 1 million printers a year in the United States. That's how that's going to work. And on a commercial side, great things are happening. On a personal side, I don't think it's going to happen before then. So happy to take questions. If it's technical, Jarrett will take it. If it's really technical, ask someone else in the audience. So anyway, question. We appreciate you guys coming. And thanks for filling it up. We'll stop by and we'll give you a voucher. We promised every one of you a voucher for coming back to the bleachers. Any questions, any thoughts about things? Look, we appreciate you coming. Just go invent something cool. Thanks.